When you die, someone you love places a single coin in your mouth. It rests under your tongue. It's payment because the moment your heart stops, you arrive at the edge of a black, slow-moving river. An old man in a boat is already waiting for you. If you have the coin, he ferries you across. If you don't, you're left standing near a bank with the rest of the unburied dead, and you do not get to cross, not for a very long time. This is the version most people know. The coin, the ferryman, the river. You've seen it in a dozen movies. But it's a fragment, a single tile pulled out of something enormous and far stranger. Because the ancient Greeks didn't just have one answer for what waits on the other side. They had several, and they all contradicted each other, and the oldest one is the bleakest thing you will ever read. Let's start there with the oldest answer, because everything else was built on top of it. The earliest detailed picture of the Greek afterlife comes from Homer's Odyssey. This was written down somewhere around the 8th century BC. In Book 11, the hero Odysseus does something no living man is even supposed to do. He sails to the edge of the world and summons the dead. Scholars call this passage the journey to the dead, and what Odysseus finds there is not heaven, and it is not hell, it's nothing. The dead are not punished, they are not rewarded, they drift through a gray, sunless place called the House of Hades as witless shadows, shades. They have no strength, no memory, no real mind at all. They make a thin, bat-like squeaking noise when they move. And here's the detail that tells you everything. When Odysseus wants to speak with them, the shades have to drink the blood of a sacrificed animal first. Only then, for a few moments, do they remember who they were. Only then can they form words. That is what death was. In the oldest Greek imagination, not torment, not paradise, the slow erasure of everything that made you a person. In the underworld, Odysseus meets the ghost of Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived. The man who chose a short, glorious life over a long, quiet one. And Odysseus tries to comfort him. Says surely he rules in glory even among the dead. Achilles cuts him off. He says he would rather be alive as a hired hand working in the fields of a landless, penniless man than be king over all the dead. Think about that again. The most celebrated hero in Greek myth says the worst day of life on earth beats the best day in the afterlife. That was the starting point, and for the Greeks, it was not nearly good enough. So over the next several centuries, they began to build. Here's the problem with a gray nothing that swallows everyone equally. It means the murderer and the saint end up exactly in the same place. It means none of it matters, and humans, turns out, cannot live with that. So the geography of the dead started to grow. First came the rivers, not one, but 5. The Styx, the river of hatred, by which the gods swore their most binding oaths. The Archon, the river of woe. The Cocytus, the river of wailing. The Phlegethon, a river of fire. Lethe. Remember that last one because we're going to come back to it, because the Lethe is the key to this entire story. Then came the gatekeeper, Cerberus, the many-headed dog who lets every soul in and lets no soul back out. Then came the part that changed everything, judgment. By the time of the philosopher Plato in the 4th century BC, the Greeks had installed 3 judges at the threshold of the underworld, Minos, dead kings chosen for their fairness in life, and now every soul that arrived had to stand before them and be sorted. The truly wicked, the tyrants, and the oath breakers were cast down to Tartarus, a pit as far as below the underworld as the earth sits below the sky. This is where the famous punishments live. The man chained beneath the boulder that forever rolls back down. The man standing in water he can never drink. Beneath fruit he can never reach. The heroes and the blessed went somewhere else entirely. The Isles of the Blessed. A green county of soft meadows and easy weather where the favored dead live on in something close to contentment. In everything else, the vast ordinary middle, the farmers and the merchants and the mothers who were neither saints nor monsters went to the Asphodel Meadows, a flat, pale plain stretching to the horizon where the unremarkable dead wander among gray flowers. So now that there's a system, a heaven, a hell, and a beige eternity for the rest of us. Here's what got strange though. For the Greeks, this still wasn't enough, because being sorted by 3 judges is one thing, knowing what happens to you, having some say in it, was something they wanted desperately. And that desire produced one of the most haunting artifacts in the entire ancient world. Archaeologists have dug up some graves across the Greek world, in southern Italy, in Crete, in Thessaly, and inside of them, folded up or rolled into tiny tubes, they found sheets of pure gold, thin as foil, inscribed with text. These are gold tablets. Scholars sometimes call them passports for the dead. They belong to people initiated into secret religions, mystery cults built around figures like Orpheus and the god Dionysus, and the people in these cults believed that they had been let in on some sort of truth. They knew what the ordinary dead did not. The tablets are instructions, step-by-step directions for your soul to follow the moment you die, and in almost every single one of them is obsessed with a single problem: thirst and memory. The tablets warn the dead soul that it will arrive parched and desperate, and that you will see a bright, inviting spring on the left beside a white cypress tree. They command you, do not drink water from it. Whatever you do, do not drink there, because that spring is the water of Lethe, the river of forgetting. Drink from it and you lose yourself. You become one of the witless shades from Homer's Gray Nothing, gibbering, blank, gone. Instead, the tablets tell you to walk further, to the cold flowing from the lake of memory. The guardians there will stop you, they'll ask who you are, and the tablet gives you the exact words to say, like a password whispered to a gatekeeper. You tell them, I am a child of earth and of starry sky. You are to say that you are dying of thirst and beg to drink from the lake of memory. Say it correctly and you're allowed to drink. You hold on to who you are and you pass on to join the blessed. These people did not bury their dead with weapons or treasure, they buried them with a cheat sheet. Think about what that means for a second. This is a reminder pressed into gold so it would survive, telling the soul the one thing it could not afford to forget, which was literally not to forget. And then came the philosophers, and they took the strangest turn of all. Plato, in the final book of his Republic, tells the story of a soldier named Ur. Ur is killed in battle, and his body lies on the funeral pyre for days. Then, impossibly, he wakes up, and he describes where he went. Ur says the souls of the dead are judged and sent away for thousands of years. The good rewarded, the wicked punished tenfold. But that's not the end. After the 1,000 years, the souls are gathered together and brought to a place where they must choose. They each pick the life they will live next. Then they're marched across a scorched, barren plain and made to camp beside a river called the Aimless, the river of unmindfulness. And every soul is required to drink. The ones with no wisdom drink too much, and whatever they drink, they forget everything. The judgment, the journey, the 1,000 years, the life before, all of it is erased. Then they are born again, as a baby, remembering nothing. In other words, Plato is telling you something quietly devastating. You have died before, many times. You stood in that meadow and chose this life. And the only reason you don't remember any of it is that you drank from the river on the way here. So look at what the Greeks actually built layer by layer over 1,000 years. They started with the gray nothing where everyone is erased. They couldn't accept it, so they added judges and rewards and punishments, and then underneath all of it, the mystery cults and the philosophers landed on the same terror again and again. It was never really about the fire of Tartarus. It was never really about the meadows of Elysium. The thing the Greeks are most afraid of was forgetting, drinking from Lethe, losing the thread of who you are until you're just a squeaking shadow that doesn't even know its own name. That's why the gold tablets existed. That's why memory had its own sacred lake. To the Greeks, the soul surviving wasn't enough. A soul that forgot itself was already dead. The body was just the last part to catch up. Which leaves you with an uncomfortable question that they never fully answered, and neither have we. If you forget everything, the people you loved, the things you did, the entire story of your own life, are you still you? Or are you just a body that someone used to live in? The Greeks couldn't agree on the geography. They argued about the rivers and the judges and the fields for 1,000 years, but on one point, every version quietly agrees. The coin under your tongue was never the most important thing you needed down there. The most important thing you needed was remembering who you were long enough to say it out loud.